The following podcast contains spoilers and adult language, and Dr. Mansour lying dead right in front of me.
Oh, I was hoping that was just a metaphor.
This is a message from the Office of Emergency Preparedness. Due to the recent crisis, we ask that you remain in your homes. Do not attempt to communicate or interact with the creatures, even if they are people you know.
Lock your doors. Bar your windows. Evil is coming. It's time for Aim for the Head, a horror apocalypse entertainment podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Diana and Steve.
Hi, and welcome back to Aim for the Head podcast. I'm Diana.
And I'm Steve.
And this week, we've decided that it is time to go. I'm just kidding. We'll be discussing episode 7 of, it's the penultimate episode of the Boroughs season 1. Actually, it's its only season. Title of the episode is Time to Go. So I just felt like it was time to go. So, because it is.
So you're saying it's time to go?
Yes, yes. Commence to start, as we used to say at, what was that? Blue Man Group. Thank you. All right. So
Thank you, Five.
Thank you, Five. So if this is your first time here, thanks so much for listening. Our format is what we usually like to do before we get into talking about movie or episode, whatever it is we're going to discuss. We'll do a real quick sort of rapid fire, how we felt about it, and then we'll get into description, writer, directors, and then we'll get into our personal sort of top 5 or points of the episode / movie, whatever it is we're going to discuss. So first off, I went first last week for our sort of rapid fire. So Steve, it's your turn. What are your thoughts on episode 7, Time to Go?
Wow. Where do I want to start? Because, really, it's. Oh, wait, it's over.
Oh,
I'm sorry, the whole episode's over. Yeah. This is another very, very quick episode. I think this one clocked in at 42 minutes, okay? Mm-hmm. Which means when you get through all of the credits and the previouslys and all that stuff, it's like probably under 40 minutes of actual content. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty quick, right?
Yeah.
But... boy, did they cram a lot in there. This episode, I think, I love the pace of this episode. I mean, it's very, frenetic. The way, I mean, it just from the moment Sam has the kind of drowsy waking up out of a drug-induced stupor moment, that episode just goes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just boom, 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 so many things. And the way that they edit it with all of the quick cuts, I mean, it just helps make the pace seem even quicker. Mm-hmm. Even though these are all old, codgers that, don't move all that quickly, you sure felt like they were moving quickly,
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I really, I like in this episode how we sort of, they're like a couple of just like little lines here and there that kind of, that it almost like is like the final little bits of the story, like answering little questions you have, like there's a thing about, like we were talking about last week, how we were surprised when they finally reveal Mother, and she kind of looks like an weird old lady.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
Yeah.
And we're like, what? Huh? Why is that? And there's like a one little line between the ill-fated Dr. Mansour and Wally that kind of goes, oh, okay, I know why she looks kind of like a human. All right, that's cool. And I mean, and it's just little stuff like that they kind of throw in there that they didn't spend a lot of time on, but I appreciate it because it answers a question that I had that was kind of like, wait a minute, why is that like that?
Yeah.
Or like you had a question about the birds. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Why did all the crows die? What was that? You know what? They, the amazing, final bit of stunt casting kind of answered that question for us, right?
Yeah.
So I really appreciated that, and I thought it was not nearly as horror movie as previous episodes. It was much more kind of action movie, but it did have a couple little bits of comedy in there that I really appreciated. And it also, of course, we have to discuss. I mean, I think maybe I'm missing something, but I'm really curious what your take is on the cultural impact of Thunder Road on people. Like, would it really be as big as it was in this episode? I don't know. We'll have to talk about it. But yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of this episode. You know, it like, ever since like episode 4 or 5, it's like the train is just, you know, going at full bore, and we're just, you know, cruising through this story. So
yeah,
really enjoyed it. Yeah. How about you? What'd you think?
Really, really good. Like you said, not as much horror or sort of like scariness. It was very like, there was action. It was moving. And I like the fact that even though Wally is sort of separated from the Scooby Gang, it sort of helps combine like the two storylines. We get like Blaine and Annalise stuff and Wally stuff. It sort of combines that sort of world. So we've got Sam in the manor, we've got the Scooby Gang, and we've got Wally with Blaine and his wife. So I like when there's an ensemble, when the storylines condense like this, so that, you know, we're not going back and forth between like 10 different things. It's like, you know, Sam is trying to get out, they're trying to get in. That's sort of a dual purpose right there. And then Wally with Blaine and his wife is like this other purpose on the other side. So it makes it a lot smoother, because you're I mean, it's not like there were a lot of storylines to keep track of, but I like the way the story moves in a lot quicker sense when they're, to me, it feels like they're going back and forth between two major stories, as opposed to, you know, we're checking in with Art, we're checking in with Judy, we're checking in with Sam, we're checking in with these people over, you know what I mean? And it's getting them all together helps the story like move quicker, I feel, because they're working towards a simple purpose there. So loved it. Really good episode. There are a couple of really nice guest stars that popped in there that we'll talk about in a bit. I was worried about Claire. She kind of came through in the end there, which was great. Yeah, and just lots of interesting stuff happening with Wally in the sort of research lab there, which we'll talk about. But yeah, overall, really great. I'm not really sure where the final episode is going to go, but I'm really dying to see how they end it, how they sort of wrap this all up. Because they've only got like 45 more minutes of show to do, you know, and there is no season 2, so it needs to like wrap up with like a cherry on top in the next episode. Yeah. So I'm very excited to see how they do that. So yeah, that's how I feel. All right, so let's chat a little bit about what this week's episode was about. So Steve, why don't we do the episode description first, and then we'll just pivot into the writer and director of the episode.
Oh, well, if you want to.
I do want to.
All right. Anything for the birthday girl.
Thanks.
All right. I mean, it's only like, you know, fines. So this is episode 1.7. I said earlier, where they could just say episode 7 of the Netflix series The Boroughs, and the title of the episode is Time to Go. And the description that we have from the chat bots is as follows. As the anniversary party approaches, Annalise reveals a painful secret. The gang, almost said Scooby Gang there. The gang gets in gear for a high-stakes rescue mission at the manor. That is your episode description. So, yeah.
It's close.
I think so. I mean, it definitely touches on some stuff that happens. I don't really know what Annalise reveals is a painful secret as opposed to just a painful wound, but, you know, tomato.
Is it really a secret if she literally moved her shirt aside within like 3 seconds of saying, "Oh, I'm in pain"? Here.
Yeah. When he's like, "What is it?" Here, it's this. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. It was a very, very small secret. I don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't very secretive.
No, not at all. But it's good to know that do not tell Annalise anything important, because clearly she caves at the first opportunity. So, all right. So moving on to our writer and our director, we have a little bit of old and a little bit of new here. And we'll do the old first, and that is our director, and that is this gal that we've talked about previously. Her name is Augustine Frizzell. And when we first mentioned her, I think I said that she ended up directing 4 episodes of this series, of this show. And this was episode the third of the 4. So with the fact that there's only one episode left of this show, I think it's safe to assume we're going to talk about her again next week. So, but she, the big thing, that she directed, just if you remember what we talked about, is she directed, I think, at least one, maybe a couple episodes of the HBO series Euphoria, which is probably the one thing that people would be familiar with, and so she's kind of just, she has a few other directing credits as well, but they're all either short films or things that I think maybe were smaller projects, that she's kind of working her way up. But anyway, I thought she did a great job on this episode. And so I look forward to seeing how she's going to navigate through the series, what turned out to be the series finale. We'll have to see. Yeah. And then our writer. Now, this is a new entry for us this week, and it's a person whose name is Yona Speidel, Speidel, but they also go by the name Our Lady J. And they, from what I read about them, and I'm getting this off the internet, so I know it's 100% true.
Absolutely.
But what IMDb and things say that Yona Speidel, or Our Lady J, is a trans woman, and they have written a bunch of stuff. The biggest thing that they've written for was they wrote 5 episodes of season 11 of American Horror Story, which, interestingly enough, season 11 is one of the seasons that our good pal Wally it appears in. Dennis O'Hare is in season 11, so I don't know how the connections work. Did one of them help the other to get involved? I don't know, but it's just kind of a weird coincidence at the minimum. So, and then they also wrote episodes of the Fantasy Island reboot, of a show called Pose, and another show called Transparent, and those go back like maybe about 4 or 5 years. So, within the last 5-6 years is when they've really been doing all their writing. So that is our writer. And again, I think they did a really good job, with the script. I thought the script moved well. It was light. It had some funny bits in it. It had some little moments of humor, but it kept the suspense and the tension up, particularly with Toby. What a great little villain he turned out to be.
Yeah.
In this episode. So that was nice. So that is your writer and your director.
Yeah, excellent. So let's start off, as we do pretty much every week for this show, is let's talk the cold open we got, which was Blaine and his wife at home, where she reveals a painful secret.
No!
Which we just talked about. So apparently her gunshot, where she was shot by Judy, because Judy had the gun, right? Yeah, Judy shot her because she was attacking Art. And it's in the television/movie, zone of non-lethality, as it were, because it's a shoulder wound.
Mm-hmm,
so
right.
We've had long discussions on this podcast before about the I'll get shot in the shoulder. That's a big I'm not gonna make it, and you're like, okay, you're not near any major arteries or any major and they're all magically fine. So anyway, so she should be magically fine because they have access to magic, as the case were. And she says to her husband, he reveals the location, and it doesn't look good. It's kind of black, has some, looks like some, black or dark colored veins moving away, almost like it's, almost like poison is what it looks like. And she says to him, the wound should have healed by now. Mother's blood isn't working. And you're like, ooh.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And so we knew before this scene happened that there was something going on, because she was so desperate to find out what had worked for Art.
Yes.
That's the whole reason that she was attacking him to begin with. He harvested that peach and it worked, and so, we know that underneath we're going to find out that there's something that's not working. And so basically they've gotten to that point where her mother's blood is just not as strong as it used to be, so it's just not working. So she's got this wound, she's in pain, and it's just not getting any better. So that's our opener to the episode is, dun dun dun, Annalise has a secret. The secret is not really that big of a secret because she reveals it right away.
She do.
And it's that her gunshot wound is not healing. So
yes, yeah.
And so that was my first point. But your first point is great because it's Blaine's kind of reaction to seeing that wound. So let's talk about your point there.
Yeah, I just wanted to, before I do that, I just wanted to say one of the things I really appreciated and liked about this opening scene is the kind of the dialogue, the way that these two people talk to each other is very much out of time, right? When because he's like, oh my God, we're going to be late. And she's like, we're never late. And then he's like, I hate these things. And then she goes, bullpucky, right? First of all,
nobody says that.
Nobody
anymore,
under the age of 60 says bullpucky. And then he's like, excuse me. And then she says something like, you love these things like a little boy showing off his train set, which again is totally a comment somebody who was living in the 30s would make.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
So I really appreciate that little bit of attention to detail that they're really stressing the fact that these are people that are extremely old in terms of the amount of years they've lived on the planet, and they haven't assimilated all of what the youth cultures evolve into,
right.
Because you have to assume that they've been in their what do you think? She's in her late 20s and he might be in his early 30s maybe in terms of how they look.
Yeah, something like that. I'd say they're all in that 30-year-old-ish range.
Yeah, right. And so they got to be 30 in 1950, 1960, 1980, and so think of all of the crazy evolution of the young counterculture that happened during all those decades, right, and yet they kind of remained true to course or true to themselves of nope, you know what, we were this age for real, emotionally back in the 1940s and the 1950s, and that's kind of how we stayed and remained. And I like that. I thought that was a cool little attention to the detail there. But yeah, so after she shows him the wound and kind of is mother's blood isn't working, and he's like, nope, we it's going to be great because there's another line when he goes, we got a new doctor and he's going to make mother right as rain.
Oh yeah. That's another one. All those phrases. The bullpucky one was that I got that right away, but the other ones are a little more subtle. But yeah, you make a good point. Right as rain.
Right as rain. It's just yep, nobody uses that phrase anymore. And so then when he mentions Wally, then literally she's like, we should have killed all of his little friends now, they should already be dead, kind of a thing. And Blaine is kind of trying to comfort her and reassure her, and he goes, he says something like, the whole cul-de-sac dying all at once, that raises a few too many questions, which is true, right? One old person dies in a retirement home, nobody really blinks because that's what happens.
Right.
But, you get 6 people and the connection is they all live in the same little, street. That's going to be that's weird, so he's right. And then he goes on to say, we're going to do what we have always done. And then she looks at him and he goes, be patient. And he goes, pick them off one by one. Nobody will care. They never have. They never will. And when the dust settles, it'll just be you and me. And then she looks at him with kind of that longing look in her eyes and she goes, forever. But what I think is great about that is that little sentence from Blaine, to me, it reveals everything about his character in this show, and that the only thing he cares about is him and his wife.
Right.
And that's it.
Right.
And everybody else will lose if he has to choose. All the people that are in on the conspiracy, like Dr. Mansour, all these people, right? It doesn't matter. The only thing that he wants is for those two to keep going, and whatever it takes, that's what's going to happen. So, and I really like that. I thought that was great. And he says it, and he's calm, and he's not ranting or foaming, yet it's very threatening. The implication, right, of like, do not screw with this guy, because he literally has done this and survived for like 60 years.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
So anyway, I thought that whole opening scene, I mean, I just wrote down the line because I really liked it, but I loved the whole opening scene. I just thought it was a great way to introduce what's going on, and at the same time you get all of the menace and a little bit more understanding about Blaine. So I liked it.
And it's great, as we were saying about, the things we liked about the episode, but we also pointed out not a lot of horror, but there's still some, tension and whatever. And this, like you said, starts it right off by, showing how serious Blaine is. Up until now, he hasn't seemed very, threatening or whatever. But now it's like he's got something this is the most important thing for him to fight for, so it really shows Bear, like, how far he's willing to go. And it's pretty, like you said, it's pretty, scary. He's a little scary in that moment, threatening, etc. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's not like horror movie scary, but it's just like threatening scary, because you're like, this guy, he'll kill you.
Yeah, he means business. So my number 2 and your number 2, it's great because this is a cold open. We go to the credits and we transition out of the credits into where we left off was Sam being taken into the manor, and that's the last thing we saw. And then now we see him waking up. He had been sedated. We find out he'd been sedated for 3 days.
Yes.
Oh my God, talk about a sleep.
Well, and on top of it, he had 3 days worth of the kids draining his brain fluid too.
Yeah.
So what did Toby say? It was like college kids at spring break tapping a keg or something.
And it's curious too, because I don't know, like, first of all, Toby is like you said before, he's the one who is mad because he came in and got Edward all riled up, and so he has always sort of held that against. He's got like this, bone to pick with Sam, and so there's just this level of, like, it's very malevolent while he's there talking. He's very mean talking to Sam, but he really, like, digs the knife in further by telling him all the details. Because Sam's trying to say, like, I got to get out of here. I don't belong here. Like, he's sort of, like, saying all of these things a little at a time. And every time, like, Toby's like, oh, we set the kids on you and whatever. And it's all really very, like, just as scary as what we just left, which was Blaine being very threatening, and now we've got Toby, and he's super threatening to Sam, and it's just, poor Sam. He's just like, he doesn't, he knows where he is, but it's like, it's been a few days, and, like Toby said, they did send the kids in and quote unquote tapped, 6 pints or whatever it was from him, and you just have this feeling that, like, Sam is kind of, he's stuck, but he's also kind of adrift in a way. And, Toby's, like, parting shot was, talking about how they're doing stuff because of the stupid 75th anniversary. And he's like, warm up those pipes or whatever. And you're like, what is he talking about? And he's like, we've got karaoke and cake. And so Sam eventually makes his way out into the common area, which I wrote common area, and they actually say later, they call it kind of like the town square. And we've seen this location before because it's got sort of like, it's like a mock-up of these little vignettes of, like, people's, previous lives that they might remember, like a little cafe and a little park bench, and then right in the middle is that bus station, the bus bench and the whatever, and there's that one guy that was there before, and he's just waiting for his friend, and you just see all of these folks who are dealing with all of these mental issues, these cognitive issues, and they're just much more comfortable pretending to do things that they used to do in their former lives. And when Sam comes out and he's in the town square, this sort of big common area, one of the things that struck me, which I didn't mention the other times that he's been there, but in this scene, mostly based on what Sam was wearing, which was this really weird, it's this whole like aqua colored outfit. And it just had this real, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you saw this or noticed it or whatever, it had a real Wes Anderson vibe to me. It just had this real, the way Wes Anderson works with color and just that saturation, and he just has a palette, and usually in his movies, like I'm just thinking of like Grand Budapest Hotel and things like that just have this like really rich color palette, and he sticks with it the whole movie, and it just felt like you were in a Wes Anderson movie in all of these scenes that were taking place in the common area. I just thought the way the colors are and the outfits they're wearing, which are, I would assume, are meant to be like, not stressful, like soothing tones and, soft colors and whatever, which is probably why he was wearing what he was wearing. But overall, just the color and the impact of that, I really, really loved it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get that at all.
Oh, really?
No, yeah,
like,
it is. It's very, I think it's very, suggestive of that. And, and I think, the clothing of all the inmates, you can tell they're very like pajama as the patient.
Yes.
Yes. And who, because otherwise it'd be like, wait, are you an inmate? Are you here? Or are you just visiting or whatever, so,
right.
So it's the kind of,
Later, when, Paz gave Judy and Renee clothes to change into, because their regular clothes would have stood out, but they're in like these soft tones, pajama outfits. So yeah, it's so they won't stand out.
Like I think Judy's, I don't like the colors, but these sure are comfortable. But
love it.
So everything about the manor, it's sort of this idea of like the crazy is all around.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that they, they whether it's encouraged or whatever, the way this particular place operates, and maybe this is how they all operate. I don't know. Obviously I don't visit them as often as I should. They kind of encourage everybody to just be themselves. And if that means you're going to sit at this, bench waiting for a bus to show up, that you can, or if that means you're going to serve, balls of yarn in coffee mugs, then you do it. It's just sort of everybody kind of gets to, do their thing and whatever their crazy vibe is, and everyone else is just accepting with it. And maybe that's a treatment style. I don't know. Right. I kind of go with you that I think it's more of an artistic touch by the showrunners to really make sure we understand that, this is the place where the broken toys all end up.
Yes.
But yeah, I did. The bit when he, Toby does the whole thing about warm up that sweet baritone because we've got karaoke, and so then Sam kind of drags himself out there, and as he's kind of taking it all in and looking around, and we're seeing all the various layers of crazy, right? Because the woman hands him a cup of yarn, and he then turns to this guy who's walking by who's holding like a stuffed dog that he has on leash, and he hands it to him, and he goes, "Careful, it's hot." And the guy's like, okay, and he takes it, right? And so as Sam's looking around, looking for a way out, wanting to escape, all that kind of stuff, and he looks up at the like observation window that's above, and you see Toby in there, and Toby is just like eyeballing him, following him wherever he goes. And when Toby sees that he's looking up there, I love the little wave
Yeah.
he gives them, sort of like, yeah, you're not getting out of here. You know why? Because we're always watching you. It's
Yes.
it was ominous, but it was just that kind of, like that very innocent kind of like, hey, I can see you.
Yeah, we're right here.
We're always here. We're always watching. So
Yeah.
I did appreciate that. But yeah, I the manner always, the multiple times we've seen it, it's always this like that you can like, I at least can always like feel the crazy just kind of
Yes.
oozing out of it in every pore, and so I totally agree. I think Wes Anderson's a really good director to pick, because he does those kind of color palettes on all of his sets when he's shooting, that there's always that he has that kind of Kubrick like attention to detail to really build the set and make sure that it's interesting, so it's not, the characters are weird and doing weird things, but the set is also interesting. So yeah, I think that's a good call.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to think so. I think, let's see, I think your number 3 happens before my number 3. So do you want to talk the Kaylee and Claire scene?
Oh, yeah.
So, love that scene.
Yeah, I think if they were going to give each of these little scenes a title, this one would be Claire, Karma is a Bitch. Because Kaylee, who we have met previously, she's the gal who works for the Boroughs, who met Sam when he arrived the first day and was kind of like showing him around the house, kind of like almost like a realtor would. Mm-hmm. Right. And we find out she, is like part of like the almost like the HR, or like the part of the Boroughs that their job is to either work on new sales or to, deal with new rivals, people that are trying to settle in, kind of a thing. And she comes into Sam's house because, as we find out, they're going, he's not going to live in there anymore. And so they're going to show it off to a new prospective client, because, they got to make that money, right? They got to get somebody in there. And she comes in, and like all the TVs and everything are still in there. And she literally is like, what the fork? And then she realizes that she's not alone, because Claire is in there, and Claire was like down on the floor in the kitchen or something, so she couldn't really see her. And Claire kind of explains that she was cleaning up, and then she kind of got distracted by her dad's thing that he was doing with all the TVs. And Kaylee's like, what is it? And she's like, well, it looks like my dad was trying to construct a particle accelerator out of old TVs. and then she goes,
like you do.
Like you do, right? And then she's like, yeah, but I think he like blew out the amplifier. So, and she's like, clearly, because again, this is what Claire and what Sam has taught Claire, and whether it's genetic or learned or whatever, she has gotten it from her dad that when something's broke, you fix it.
Right.
I mean, it's just like it's like a compulsion where you just have to. And so when she saw what he was doing, she's like, well, I can make this work. You just know, right? There was a moment where she's like, well, this would be easy to fix, and so and now it's hours later and she's still monkeying with it and everything. But she's like at the point where she's just about done. And it's great, because when she says it was a particle accelerator, and Kaylee's like, she's like, is it dangerous? And Claire is not really paying attention. She's like, huh? She's like, oh, no, not to humans. And so then she plugs it in and she turns it on, and it works. And all the TVs fire up, and you get this loud industrial, hum, and, it's and all that stuff's going on. And she's sort of like, Claire has this moment where she's sort of like nodding her head, like, yeah, I made it work. Check it out. And then she turns around, and Kaylee is now like suspended in the air, and she's kind of doing the glitch thing, right? And we see her, and she like ages to be like this incredibly old, almost like a corpse look to her. Is that kind of what you thought when you saw her when she was all grossed out?
Yeah, it was a cross between, and I think I'll get more information on this, I would hope, in the next episode, but she was either like kind of corpse-like / kind of had like hints of like one of the kids. Like, is she also one of the, I don't want to call her the undead, but they're kind of zombie-like, that they keep extending their life like that. Mm-hmm. Or is she, could she be, some type of, one of the aliens? But either way, she is, she's not what she seems to be. That is for sure.
Oh, so, no, not at all. And so, yeah, and I love the makeup effects that they do for her, and whether it's real or digital, the way it kind of fades away makes me think it was probably digital. But and so Claire, when she sees her, she's freaked out, and she immediately like pulls the plug on everything and cuts the power, and like Kaylee like slowly like transforms back to herself. But it's great because she has this big line of snot running out of her nose down to her lips, right? And and you can tell she's like, what was I talking about? And
what happened
Claire, and Claire, it's like, Claire Bear, you got to work on your poker face, lady, because it's not good, right? Because she has this horrified look on her face, and she's like, nothing important, And then Kaylee's like, I'm not feeling well. I have to go. Be out of here by tomorrow, whatever, because there's a showing. And then as she turns to leave, she looks at Claire, and she's like, I love your shoes, and then she leaves. It was a great little scene there, because Claire clearly has been really regretting her decision to commit her dad, and
right,
and yet it makes perfect sense logically, right? I mean, all the stuff that he was telling her, in the really real world, that person's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And yet for her then to suddenly see Annalise, basically turn into a monster right in front of her.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's sort of like, oh, wait, my dad was correct. So yeah, I really liked that moment. And just, I thought that was one of the funnier touches of the moment, when she just looks at her and goes, I like your shoes. And then she leaves. So. But anyway, what did you think of that whole reveal scene?
It was so great, because it was, they've really been driving home the fact that Claire is just like her dad in a lot of ways, and he would much rather tinker with something with his hands rather than face something that's difficult to face emotionally, clearly, because we've seen him doing that with like not being able to get over his wife dying, etc. And Claire does the exact same thing. She can't handle the fact that she committed her dad, pretty much, and there's all this emotional stuff, so she completely distracts herself by, fixing this particle accelerator thing that he built for some reason. And if you really probe, you would think, because, Kaylee even says, she's like, why would someone even do that? And she could think about that, but really she's just thinking about the science. And, like, if my dad were here, we would have fun working on something like this together. And she's just like, part of her brain is working through her dad's stuff, but a very big portion of her brain is just pushing it away. Mm-hmm. She's, this whole scene was two things. It was her pushing away her grief over doing what she did, and then realizing, oh my God, my dad was right. These people are monsters. I need to go save him. Like, it was it was really sort of the turning point of the episode, because, there's all these other things going on, but Claire sort of is a very sort of like inciting incident. It makes you feel like, oh, this is great. We're going to get Sam out because, she's going to waltz in there and try and grab him. So it just had this real feeling of like, oh, now like she's part of the Scooby Gang now, which is basically what that felt like.
Yes. And so, yeah. If Sam, Alfred Molina is Scooby, that clearly would make Jenna Malone Scrappy. So I'm just saying.
Scrappy dude.
Just saying. And I'm sorry, Jenna, but nobody likes Scrappy. So you gotta work on that. But yeah, I had the same thought too, that I'm like, okay, clearly now, because the rest of the gang has already got a plan in motion at the manor. You just know that they're going to intersect. And she's going to join the Scooby Gang, and then it was really great, and it was a fun way for her to find out. It was a really imaginative and visual way to see that, and you really get the sense that Kaylee was whatever it was zapping her, it like, she like blacked out. She has no memory of it. So it's not like she's like, oh my God, you know what I mean? And she's just sort of like, oh, I'm not feeling well. And what is she like when she turns it off? What does she say? Like the first thing she says is like, what was I saying? Like she like has no little memory of the past couple seconds. And so that's good too, because that means that, again, alarms will not be raised yet. So.
Yeah. It was a great scene. I mean, because leading up to this moment, I've been like, this realtor woman is a real pain in the ass.
Oh, yeah.
And come to find out, she is a pain in the ass, but she's also a monster as well.
She's part of Blaine's little group.
Yeah, and also, can we just talk about the how so insensitive it is that she only put Sam in that facility like 3 days ago. Mm-hmm. And she's already like, oh, I thought you would have had this all packed up by now.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like it's, and I'll never forget, like when my Nana lived in an assisted living place, and when she passed away, it was at the beginning of the month, and we were, working on getting her things out of her place, etc. And my aunt was dealing with a lot of it because she was there locally in Boston, and she was like, I was thinking like we could take some time and maybe really sort through her stuff. She's like, but then I talked to the office and they were like, well, since she's gone, because like when you're in assisted living like that, the government subsidies, like if the apartment is worth $2,000 and with your Social Security you pay like $500, the government kicks in that other $1,500 so that there's like that you get like a credit.
Yeah.
So they were like, you're welcome to use that apartment as long as you need. And my aunt was like, oh, that's great. They're like, but when we get to the first of the month, since she's no longer there, we'll have to charge you the full cost of the rent. And she was like, okay, so we're getting all of her shit out before the first of the month.
Everything's got to go. Let's move.
And as soon as Kaylee was acting that way, I was like, son of a bitch. Yeah. Same thing. But the thing that's interesting is, I don't know if Sam owns this house or if he's just renting, because it's just like it feels like he bought the house because they were talking about all these savings, etc. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that you can't just like sell a house out from underneath someone 5 days after they don't live there anymore. Like it's up to his daughter to sort of like, she's like overly pushy here. Like it really was like. So when I saw her get zapped like that, I was like, yeah, that's right.
Take that, lady.
We're going to particle accelerator your ass.
Yeah. There's also a bit in that scene before they turn on the particle accelerator where, Claire's like, I'm trying to figure out why did he want to build this thing? And Kaylee's like, I think the bigger question is why would anyone want to build something like this? And then she looks at her and he goes, but the important thing is, no matter, she says, so she has some kind of platitude of like, we just have to love them for how they are. And literally Claire's like, was that like some, bullshit line that HR gave you? And she's like, no, that's a bullshit line that I wrote for HR. And so it's like she came up with that. And it's that kind of very, very like patronizing, unfeeling platitude that is supposed to be like really great, but when you kind of think about it, it's kind of shallow, like, oh, we need to love them for who they are or what they are, whatever it was, and you're just sort of like, oh, I just want to like punch you in the face. So and she got her, so there you go.
So hopefully we'll see like a but I don't, but hopefully we'll see some sort of, comeuppance for Kaylee. That'd be great.
I can't tell you.
I know you can't. How dare you? No, I don't want to know anyway.
Really? It's really cool.
So let's talk, I think timeline-wise, then there's my number 3. So let's talk that, and we'll get that out of the way and go back to the manor, because there's a bunch going on there. So there's this my number 3, there's this really great scene where Dr. Mansour and Wally are working together. They're going through some of the results of some testing they've been doing with Mother and all this other stuff. And, they're trying to figure out how to, make it so that Mother, it's clear she's an old lady. Like, it looks like she's just wasting away, right? And so they're talking it through, and also, I don't know, they were talking about living where they are, because they're both clearly, drinking the Kool-Aid, as it were, literally and figuratively. And they're talking about, like, the pluses and minuses of, living this way. And Dr. Mansour just makes a comment off the cuff and says, it all beats the hell out of a bone marrow transplant. Mm-hmm. And Wally has this moment, and he goes, bingo.
Eureka.
He's like, Eureka, that's it. He's like, because they've been trying to figure out what's the best way, because they were saying that basically that the cells that are in Mother's blood are starting to degrade, so they're not as strong as they used to be, but they're just sort of talking it through. And then when he says bone marrow transplant, he's like, that's it. That's the winner. That's how we will make it better. So there's this really great aha moment between the two of them. It was a good scene.
Well, and I also like too that the first thing he says is, what we need to do is we need to change your diet and not feed her just the human brain fluid. And of course, Mansour points out, well, we can't do that because we need her blood to live, and so if we cut that off, then we die. And so he says the whole catch-22. If she dies, we die. If we keep going the way we're going, we're gonna die. How do we do this?
Yeah.
But in that exchange, Wally, I think it's Wally, has this line of like, you've been feeding her so much human brain fluid that she's started to look human.
Yes, so that's how we find out that she looks the way she looks. It's a nice little tidbit that's thrown in there. Because it just was really perfect for us, because that came up last week. That whole she looks human, and I thought she'd have way more legs, and all. Remember that whole little bit we had when we were talking about it, and it's like, why is it that all the kids look like little weird monster spider things, and she kind of looks like James Woods with a wig at 90? I mean, what's the deal? And it's just a great way to resolve that without really having to devote a lot of time and scientific gobbledygook to it. It's just sort of, maybe it's this. And they're like, okay. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. Thank you very much. So you've solved that problem. So and then that leads directly to Wally's big, his bingo moment. Right. And it's great because Mansour is like, it beats the hell out of a bone marrow transplant. And then he goes back to his charts, and he's kind of looking at him and making little notes with his pen. And Wally has this look on his face. And after about 5 seconds, Mansour realizes that he hasn't said anything, and he looks up and he's like, what? What is happening?
So that was a cool little scene. And also, I have to say, it's the I believe it's not quite, but it's like the third to last scene for Dr. Mansour.
He's it's not looking good for Dr. Mansour.
He was approaching his last day on the call sheet. Yep, there's no doubt.
Yeah, he just didn't know it. Not in this scene. Yet. He didn't know it. So let's head back to we've got a couple of scenes that are kind of run concurrently. We've got action going on in the manor while Sam is trying his best to just get out of there. And we got the Scooby Gang working through their plan to try and spring Sam out of there. So I guess I don't remember what happens first, but let's go through, let's say, like my number 4, which was one of the things that they needed to do to set up getting Sam sprung was they needed to make sure that nobody was at the front desk to be able to watch because they got a big thing where they can watch the monitor, and they wanted to be able to just basically walk out the front door. So Judy and Renee, they enter via like an emergency exit. Paz is the one who unlocks it for them. But he and Art work together because he comes inside and is basically like, hey, guys. And there's like an admin, like a secretary, and also a security guard there. So there's two people on the desk. And he tells them both, he's like, hey, I was driving by and I almost ran over one of your residents. And they're like, yeah, that's not possible. And he's like, there's like a on the door, and you look over, he's like, oh, that's him. And it's Art. And he just is like playing around in there like, oh my God. Meanwhile, like, Art is not one of the residents. He's not from there, but he's wearing like the light colors so that he'll blend in. And then they're like, oh my God, and he starts to run. And the security guard goes to take off after him. And I thought one of the best lines of the whole episode, this is his way of getting both of them gone, is Paz says, you both might want to go. He looks strong.
Yeah.
Because that's their whole plan, is to get both of them out of there. And as soon as the second he's like, don't worry, I won't tell anyone. I'll man your post and I won't tell anyone. And so she leaves and he just like jumps over the desk and he starts like, first he unlocks the door for Judy and Renee to get in. And then he's observing everything on the cameras to make sure like, that they don't get caught, basically.
And helping him out. He figures out what room Sam's in and all that. But you see,
exactly,
I'll tell you, this is the difference between TV and like my life. Because if I was doing the pause thing and that was my plan, I would come in and I'd be like, hey, the guy got away, and the security guard would race after him, and then I'd be like, you should probably go with because he's pretty spry. In my life, that woman would be like, oh, I really can't leave, but why don't you go help him? And then I'd be like, sure. But don't you really want to go? It's so nice outside. Don't you want to go run outside? It just wouldn't work, And she's like, it almost is like you want me to leave. No. Yeah. So anyway, that it's just sort of like, it's always cool because it always works out in the movies, And I love what Art is doing on the other side of the door, where he like starts like almost like doing like the robot and the moonwalk and all this, kind of stuff. And of course he's dressed in the comfortable PJ style clothing, and they're like, how the hell? And she yells at the security guard when she's like, because you're looking at your phone, that was a lot of fun. So and then Art, I think when he tells like they're in the van and Paz is like, okay, so they're gonna go in and get Sam. You need to distract them. You need to be like crazy or wild or something. And he's like, I can do that.
I thank you. Yeah. I will step up to the plate for sure.
It was great.
Yeah. Meanwhile, so while that's going on, Sam is doing his thing, and he finds out that the best way to get out of there is to find out how Edward. He bumps into this woman named Gigi. Like literally, she bumps into him. She's in like a little scooter, and she's like, I know you from somewhere. And he's like, I don't know how you know me. And she's like, yeah, you were Edward's friend. You came to visit him or whatever. That's a really good memory, by the way, to remember that he came in to visit Edward. And she's like, oh, Edward, he was great. He he kept trying to escape. He would escape all the time. And Sam is like, oh my God, how did he get out? How do I get out? I have to get out. Like, you need to help me. And she's like, oh, the Duchess can help you because she knows how he got out. And he's like, well, how do I help the Duchess? And she's like, well, why don't you take 2 pieces of that cake and follow me? And so hilarity ensues after that. So let's do your number 4.
Yes, because we finally get, this episode has this kind of build up to the Duchess. Dun, 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 yes. Right? And you're right. I'm trying to remember what her name is. Gigi, right? That's her name. Yeah. She's great. Yeah. She has that scene out in the main floor of the manor. I mean, she just steamrolls through it, and it's great. And she imparts on him, you need, if you want to get out, you got to talk to the Duchess. And so, and then I think it cuts to something else. And so you're kind of left going, who's the Duchess? What is this all
about?
And so we find out it's her roommate that she has been living in the manor with for, like, I think she says like 50 years or something, right? And this is like I said, this is sort of the last bit of like stunt casting for the show, because the Duchess, as you point out in your honorable mentions, is Mary freaking McDonnell.
Oh my God! Like, she is like an Oscar-nominated actress.
Oh, yeah.
She's like the best. Yeah. She is so many things. She was
in Sneakers. People, hello.
She was in Dances with Wolves.
But we don't talk about that. I mean, she was in Battlestar Galactica. She's done a ton of stuff. She's an amazing actor, and I mean, I'm guessing she was probably on set for like maybe 2 days for this, because she's
and all she had to do was
lie
sit
in the bed with the thing in her nose, the little oxygen thing in her nose, and pretend to smoke a cigarette. I mean, pretty good money if you can get it, right? And then there she is, but just the way we are introduced to her, because they open the door to the room and they walk in, and you get this like quick series of cuts of like all of the paintings that are on the walls, and they are all kitty paintings, and not life like kitty paintings, like they're like artistic kind of kitty paintings. And I kind of get the sense that they're drawn by like people that are probably not professional artists.
Like maybe they're even like people who have like cognitive
memory
possibly issues and
it's painted by the people that live in this house. But that's what you're greeted with, is on all the walls there are paintings of either cats or birds or birds and cats. And and so that's the first thing you get, and then there sitting sitting up in her bed is the Duchess, and she's like, her eyes are open, but you can tell right away that she's really not here. It's sort of that vacant stare kind of coming from her eyes, and so then Gigi kind of lets Sam know that, like, she knows everything and she can answer your question, but you got to give her a cue, so it'd be something to focus her to now, where she'll be present with us. And he's like, well, what cue? What do you need? And she's like, well, some people it's music, other people it's, a certain like a smell, like a perfume or something. And with the Duchess, it's a cigarette. and we find out again, and I love this because it's very Quest-like, this whole episode, in that in order to accomplish this, you must go and do this thing. You who just sat through the 16-hour Odyssey are very familiar with this concept. And literally it's like, well, the only cigarettes in the place are Toby's, and he keeps them in his desk in his office. And so if you want to get out of here, all you have to do, and this is really easy, is you have to find a way to get into Toby's office, which Toby is in, by the way, watching you through the window all this time. And once you do that, then if you can find where the cigarettes are and get out without him seeing you, then you can find out how to get out of here. and so, yeah. Yeah, and that's all. It's pretty simple. And so, he again, what does he got? He has no choice but to, like, all right, mission accepted, And the other thing we learn about Gigi is that she, like, her condition is she kind of has like a brain reset every once in a while, and because she literally.
Like a groundhog day.
Yeah, and so like she sits down on the bed next to the Duchess, and she's talking, and then all of a sudden she looks over at Sam, who's standing right there, and she's like, "Oh, I know you. You were friends with Edward." It like literally has the same conversation that she had with him at the beginning, and he's sort of like, uh-oh. And then when he kind of says, "Yeah, you brought me in here to meet the Duchess," and when she hears that, she literally is like, "Oh, I did it again, didn't I?" So she's like, aware that it happens. Right, and you feel bad for her. You're like, oh,
Yeah, but, I know. She's like, oh, it happened again, didn't it?
Yeah,
and you're like,
yeah, and it's gonna happen again, right? Because that's how it works in TV. You got to do it at least 3 times. So, but what did you? What was your impression of the whole scene where we meet the Duchess?
Well, First of all, I want to, if I can delve into my honorable mentions for a hot second, I just want round of applause for Anna Devere Smith, who she was one of 2 really exciting guest stars for this week. She is a powerhouse. She's been in a lot of Sorkin things. She was on West Wing. She's in American President. She's fantastic. She's got a long Broadway career too. Fantastic actress. So to have her in this sort of like sassy, no holds barred kind of role, it's perfect for her. And I just wanted to highlight a couple of her lines that she had before she brought Sam into the Duchess's place. They're in line for the cake, and there's this other guy there, and he's like, "No cutting," and she says, "Nobody likes a narc."
Oh, it's
Gary.
so great.
I know, it's great. And then when she tells, Sam the whole shebang. You got to talk to the Duchess. She'll tell you, but we got to bring this cake with us or whatever. And he gets the cake and they start to leave. And she's like, "Get out of my way, Gary, or drive over your dick." And it's just great. And she just got the best attitude. And then from there, we get, Mary McDonnell. And she's just amazing. And this scene I thought was really great because they said that they've been roommates for 50-something years, but I don't know, like, does she mean they're at the manor or outside of the manor and then they came to the manor together? Like, do they also, like, take, like, some of the substance as well?
I don't know.
I don't know. I had a lot of questions about, like, the Duchess, how she came to be there, what's her... But the best part is that once they do tap into, like, her brain, as it were, she's got a lot of information, which you included that in one of your points further down. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But this whole scene was just so interesting. Like, if you were to go back, like, 6 episodes and go, one of the most pivotal scenes of the whole season is going to be a woman with cognitive issues who's barely talking unless you give her a cigarette, and she only stays in her apartment, which is decked out with all these kitty art. You would think it was
Yes. And on top of it, played by an Oscar, nominated actress.
Yeah.
You'd be like, what?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is, it's a fantastic scene because of the actors that are there, but also on top of it, it just, like, within the story frame for this episode, it just added so much, and there's more layers, more questions, more like who are these people? And they're these poor people living in the manor, but then, you've got, Gigi, who's, like, totally fierce and whatever, and it was just such a breath of fresh air and just so interesting. I love this scene.
Yeah, and it's funny because the way the Duchess is portrayed, it's almost like she's like an oracle, like out of Greek mythology, and like the cigarette, that's like the tribute or the sacrifice that if you're the person that wants to ask a question about your future, you have to, give them something, right? There has to be something you give to them for them to, it's how they pay the bills, right? Exactly. And this, like I said, this whole episode, it does kind of have this weird kind of, like, it's almost like a fable in the way Sam is being forced to do all this stuff, and complete these little quests to make sure he gets his main quest answered. And along the way, his main quest is going to change because right now he wants to kill Mama. And as the Oracle is going to reveal to him in a few scenes that actually, no, that's not what you need to do. If you truly want to save yourself and your friends, you don't want to kill Mama, you want to save Mom.
Yes, that's the more important thing to do.
So anyway, I love that scene. I love the character. I think both of those women are great. In their performances. But when the Duchess wakes up and is communicating with them, which is a scene or two later, she is great.
Oh, God, yeah. In fact, let's talk about your next point, too, because that is, his little distraction that
Yes.
he runs in order to get upstairs to get Toby's cigarettes. So let's talk about your number
Yes,
5.
yeah. So he goes out and he's sitting in like the main room of the manor, and again, it's the anniversary. They've got the karaoke going. They've got cake and punch, and you see that there are like a lot of like visitors mingling in the crowd. It's not just the people who live there. You know, it's not just the patients, right? So there are a lot of people in the room, and he of course looks up and sees that Toby is still in his office, and he isn't necessarily watching him, but he's up there, and that's a problem because he has to get him out of that room so he can go in there and find the smokes, you know. And so I don't know why he decided to do this, but his thought is, I know, I will pick a song to sing in karaoke that will cause such a commotion that it will cause Toby to come running out and see what's going on. I guess. I mean,
well, I think he's inspired. He's trying to think of what to do to distract, and he's figuring, you know, got to do something here to distract. And the woman who sings before him, the guy in the front row jumps up and he gets all excited, and they're immediately like, "Oh, sit down, like don't get that excited.
Don't excite yourself."
And I think he's thinking in his head, if I pick the right song, maybe, you know, I'm not sure he thought it would play out the way that it did, but I'm wondering if he thought he could at least like act really sad and maybe, you know, leave the stage or so. I don't know. But he picks this Bruce song, and then it just sort of goes from there.
And I think part of the reason he picks the Bruce song too is because it's a song he knows, because that was a song his wife loved, and so, you know, and which, as we see, it starts out it's a good choice, and then it kind of becomes a bad choice because he can't hack it. You know, he's overwhelmed by emotion, and then, you know, Ed or whoever that guy is that jumped up and was, you know, telling the woman who just sang Cabaret to like do it again. You know, which I agree. I mean, Cabaret is my favorite musical out of all the musicals. So, because it has, you know, musical Nazis. What's not to like? Anyway, and so, you know, he kind of jumps up to help him. But my point is, you know, I think this episode gives us, all of us, a very important life lesson, and that is, if you're trapped in a nut house, always use the boss. I mean, that is the quickest way to escape. So he goes up and he you know, says any fans of the boss, and of course people are like Springsteen, you know, and you know, and so and he starts playing Thunder Road. He, you know, sings along, and about after like the first couple of lines, he gets all choked up and can't keep going because it's his wife's favorite song, you know. And it's very sad. But then the guy who was cheering on the you know, the cabaret thing, he jumps up and gets on stage and starts singing with him, and that kind of gets Sam going. You know, he's able to kind of recover and you know, soldier through the emotion and be like, nope, I gotta do this, I gotta get through this. And then they start singing, and then it's like the whole crowd are like all like diehard Boss fans, you know, because they're all up, they all know all the words. I don't know, do you know all the words to Thunder Road? I don't, you know, I mean,
I don't, but I'm not their age. I'm thinking that that's a contemporary thing. Like, that's a song that might have been played at the end of the night when you're leaving the bar or something like that. Like, you know, even people who don't listen to a lot of Bruce might know that song.
Oh, yeah, no, they know that song, but they don't necessarily know all the words. I mean, that song, first of all, Bruce, you know, the way, you know, his lyrics can be kind of wordy. And that is definitely one of those songs where it's not, you know, like na 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 na, you know what I mean? It's much more, and yet all of these people jump up and they're all singing at the top of their lungs, and it's an impressive spectacle of a scene, because you know, you see the people who work there trying to calm everybody down, like, everybody, let's just, you know, take it down and let, you know, we're getting too excited, right? And then you see Toby, and is kind of, not really paying attention, but then he sees what's going on and, runs out of the office. And then I love this, that they apparently things can get so bad in the manor that they have a pre-recorded button they can hit that starts a recording that goes, "Please return to your rooms," over and over again.
I love it.
I do too.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, yes, the Russians are attacking. Please return to your rooms.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, so and whatever Sam was expecting, he gets, the mother lode here, in that it is chaos out on the floor, and Toby has left the office to come down to try and calm everything down, and he's able to slip away and get into his office and look for the smokes, which of course are not in the desk like the Oracle told him.
Yeah. Yes.
And he is just about ready to give up when he sees that Toby has like a little mini fridge, and he opens it up, and in there, like a lot of people do, he has his cigarettes in there to keep them fresh, right?
Yes.
And then the other thing that's great is that right below the smokes on the next shelf is one of those little medical trays with 3 pre-prepared syringes, like hypodermics, with like obviously like massive horse tranquilizer, right? I mean, and he's like, aha.
So, this may come in handy.
And he just picks one up and takes it out of its little tube when Toby comes back in and sees him, but he doesn't see that he has the needle. And Toby, basically lets him know that he's done. We're gonna put you back, and we're gonna let the kids, have at you and just get this over with. And he's always calling him Sammy.
Yeah.
And
yes, randomly.
And so then Alfred Molina, and we should point out, Alfred Molina, outweighs this guy by like 150 pounds, and is like 6 inches taller. So he towers over this little dude, and he just puts his forearm right into his chest and drives him up against the wall, and he's like, "Don't call me Sammy."
Yeah, I loved it. It was so good.
It was, yeah. And he jams the hypodermic in his neck and knocks him out. And so then he's got the smokes. I have to ask you though, did you not think? Were you not like, wait, take the lighter too? What are you doing?
I didn't think of that. I just mostly thought like, why wouldn't you bring more of those syringes?
Grab
you
another one.
Used more of that.
Right,
yeah.
right, yeah. I thought that too. But the big thing is like the reason why he looks in the refrigerator at all is that sitting on top of it is like a Bic disposable lighter.
Right.
And that gives him and then he opens it up, and right there are the smokes. And then he just takes the pack of cigarettes, and I'm like, you think these gals that are living in the manor have like matches in their room? You know what I mean? It's like, what are you, nuts?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, for the cigarettes.
Yeah, so I was just sort of like, take the lighter, dude. What are you doing? But it turns out they actually do have a lighter in their room. So maybe it was overkill on my part. But yeah, what were your thoughts of the whole singing the boss in that whole scene?
I thought it was really cute because he picked a song that he knew and he hasn't a connection to, and then he got all choked up, and then the reaction of everybody singing along was just so unexpected, and it's interesting because he pushed away so much to do Boroughs that's all like community based, and yet here was this community moment that sort of saved his ass, so it was this nice little sort of ironic moment for him. So I really liked it, and they've done such a good job of incorporating good music, ones that I'm a little uncomfortable to connect with a senior citizen community since I grew up listening to Bruce Springsteen because my mom's a big fan. So is it like oldies music? I don't want to think so, but yeah. I guess so.
Yeah, I'm sorry, old lady Driscoll, but it is. Yeah, it's definitely, if you go look for the boss now, it's going to be in the oldies section. I'm sorry.
I don't have to like it, though.
That's true. Yeah.
But yeah, great scene. Great scene.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So we get this, and then he's able to he gets the cigarette, but he gets away from.
He goes back to see.
Yeah, goes to the Duchess. So you've got that great.
Yeah, so he
he
knocks out Toby.
Yeah.
And then he goes back, and Gigi doesn't remember him, and so he has to live through the whole.
Yeah. Again.
Oh wait, I know you. You're friends with Edward. He's like, God darn it, And then she even catches on and goes, oh, my brain did it again, didn't it? Yeah. Right. And so then he's like, we need to get a cue for the Duchess. And she's like, yeah, you need a smoke. And he like holds the pack up. And so she gives her one, puts it in her mouth. And she gets out like one of those Zippo lighters.
Yep.
And she cracks it open and she fires it up and she holds the flame like in front of the smoke, but doesn't actually light it, which I thought was interesting. That this woman doesn't need to actually smoke a cigarette, I'm sure, because she has the oxygen thing in her nose that she has some icky things going on in her body because she probably smoked a lot when she was younger. So, but I like that she does at least goes through the illusion of lighting the cigarette for her. And as soon as the lighter is lit, you just kind of see Mary McDonnell's eyes like light up.
Yeah.
And she's present in the room. And, this happens several times in this episode where she looks at Sam and goes, I know you. And he's like, nope, you don't. I've never met you before. And she's like, nope, I do. And it turns out that the Duchess is talking to Mother, like mentally or psychically or something, right? Yeah. And here I think this is where a lot of the remaining little questions about this show are answered.
I agree. Yeah.
So so why don't you take over and describe a little of the things we learn from the Duchess?
Well, she basically, it answers a lot of our questions about the images he's been seeing of Lily over and over again. There's this cute moment where Gigi laughs and she's like, he thought he was seeing a ghost. And then the Duchess explains that really it's that mother is trying to, like, she's calling out. And it's great because he's like, why was I chosen? And she's like, you weren't the first choice. So you have to wonder, who was the first choice? Was it Edward? I wonder. And then
I would think so.
Yeah, and then hearing all that stuff drove him mad,
Or he got caught and was put in the manor.
Yes, he was trying to save Mother some way. So yeah, she's just saying, like, Mother needs to be saved, and she's been calling out, and she's been doing it in a way that you would pay attention to, sort of, like something that you would connect with emotionally. And obviously, it's being able to see images of Lily. So you have to go back to all of these moments where he's seen Lily and really think about it, and that's been Mother every single time saying, help me, get me out of here. Pardon me. A little wet my
Everything
whistle.
Okay?
Yeah. So we get, you have to sort of process that for a second and realize, oh, all of this time, it hasn't even been Lily. Like, he thought he was looking at Lily, and it was, affecting him emotionally on such a deep level, but it turned out it was Mother calling out to him. And he's kind of, it's funny because in that moment he kind of rejects it and is like, I want to get out of here. Like, I can't help anyone right now. I need to help myself, pretty much. And so it's just interesting that that was what those scenes with Lily all meant. It was just Mother reaching out to him. Gigi explains, was it Gigi or the Duchess? One of them says that when his wife died, his brain kind of split in two. And
that's the Duchess.
Yeah, and she basically explains, like, you went through this traumatic event and your brain got sort of, split in two, and it's that part of your brain that's dealing with all this emotion that, mother's been reaching out to, but you haven't listened to her, you haven't heard her. So we learn a whole lot in that, basically. She helps him, gives him the information on how to get out of there. She's like, go catch the bus, the 5:15.
Catch the 5:15.
And so she gives him the information he needs, but she also, reveals a lot that we didn't know, finding out that, mother's been sort of tapped as like this well all of these years to help out these people live and live and live, and she just wants it to end. She wants to get out of there. So she wants to be saved. So it's interesting. The Duchess reveals a lot, and like you said, a lot like an oracle. It was very, very cool.
Yeah.
What a great scene.
And when she tells him, that the mother started trying to communicate with him because everyone else that could hear her were already in the manor, and they were not in a position to help.
Right.
They couldn't do it. Either they were trapped mentally like she is, like the Duchess, or they were physically unable to do it or whatever. And then he came along and like you said, his mind kind of split, and one part of it is in the present, and the other part of it is still back on the day his wife died.
Right.
And so she's like, that's why, if you want to save yourself, you have to save mother. And Sam's like, no, I don't want to save her at all. I want to kill her. She killed Jack.
Right.
And the Duchess is like, that was just an accident. And then she looks at him and she goes, if you want to help your friends, save her. And then she goes, the choice is yours. Anger or forgiveness. And then she kind of stops, and then she goes, choose. And again, it very much, you're right, like I said before, it's very much like in like a Greek tragedy where the oracle is sort of giving the protagonist news that they don't necessarily like, but it's sort of like, that's your destiny, dude. You don't have a choice. You're gonna run into mother, and when you finally get to her, you're gonna have to decide, are you going to bring anger and kill her for what she did, or are you going to help her and give forgiveness? And that's the only option you have. That's the only thing of your destiny you get to choose.
Yeah. It's
so yeah.
Oh no. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
I was gonna say, yeah. It's just such a great little scene. With these two weird little characters that are like stuffed in the manor, and when I watched it, it makes me just wonder how many other true characters are in this place like them. That nobody really pays attention to, no one sees, but they have some weird thing going on like this. It was really great. I really, really like this scene a lot.
Yeah, it's really I don't want to know, but I'm curious if we ever see the Duchess again. But I don't want to know the answer to that. I'd like to, but I don't know if she figures into the final part of the story.
In that case, I will not tell you.
Great, that'd be great if you didn't do that.
Yeah. However, so he has to catch the bus, and so he goes out and he sits down next to the guy that Blaine was talking about, to Claire.
Yeah.
Who is waiting for his friend Charlie, and he waits at the bus station every day, and blah blah blah, all that stuff. And there he is, and it's great because he's like, "Are you waiting for the 5:15?" Sam's like, "Yep." And he's like, "Going on vacation?" And Sam's like, "Sure." Yeah. and he's like, "Well, don't you worry, the 5:15 is never late." And so and Sam is literally like, "I'm sitting in the middle of a room. Yeah. How is a bus gonna show up?"
Yeah.
And we should point out too, during all this, Judy and Renee are like trying to find Sam in the manor, and so they're like walking around trying to get in there. And I think at that point too, Claire shows up at the manor and comes into the front where Paz is manning the desk, and she's like, hello, I want you to get my father for me. We're leaving now. And Paz is like, yeah, I don't think that happened.
Yeah, he's like, I don't have time for that right now.
Right. And then she's like, oh, you will, or I'm going to call the police. And he's like, hey, lady, around here, I am the police.
I hate to tell you, but hello.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So you get kind of all of these pieces in motion for this scene, that Sam's waiting for the bus, the girls are trying to find him, Renee or Claire is yelling at Paz and all this, and of course Art is still running around outside, keeping those two people on the loose. All these things are kind of going on at once, and it's almost kind of like one of those old like slapstick comedies that Hollywood used to make 1,000 years ago, right? That has all of these parts in motion,
right?
And then, sure enough, right at 5:15, Sam looks up and like down this corridor, right in line with where the bench is, where the bus stop is. There's an exit door, and at 5:15, it opens up, and like this nurse comes in with a big tray, like a cart, full of medication or something, and that's the way out. That's how Edward got out, is that when that lady came in every day at 5:15, she would have to prop the door open so, she could get the cart through, and then she would leave, and then he would slip past her and go out before the door would close.
Yeah.
And that's it. So Sam gets away, kind of.
He sure do. For at least a little bit, at least into the back hallways,
Yes.
But while this is going on as well, we've got, some developments in the lab, as it were.
Oh my God, yes we do.
And so, they talked about their findings about the, doing like a bone marrow transplant or some type of transplant with Mother, and to see how that would go. And they tried it, and it worked. They showed the degraded cells, and then what they did was a blood transfusion, and they put some of the children's blood into her. And you could see on the screen, they show it, and like the cells like sort of come to life, and they're like spontaneous cell regeneration or whatever. And it's very impressive to see. And of course, Blaine and Annalise are there in the lab with Dr. Mansour and Wally, and they have this whole scene where they're like, it looks very promising, but if we do it on a larger scale, it might not work. It might kill Mother. There's risks involved. And they're like, so we need to, do some trial runs or do some, testing. And Blaine's like, well, how long will that take? And they're like, oh, weeks, maybe a couple of months, who knows?
Yeah.
And Annalise is like, I'm going to be dead by then from this gunshot wound that won't go away. And so they're like, that's not acceptable. And they're like, well, it'll put everybody in danger. We really just can't do it, And it's sort of left that way, that they're just, they're not going to be able to speed it up in any way because it would endanger everybody.
Well, and they were afraid it would kill her.
Yeah, exactly.
Is I think Mansour's big thing is like, look, this is just this is like the preliminary experiment here, and we don't know if it's going to work on a large scale, and if we just go ahead and do it, she could die, and then we're all screwed, Right. So he is talking total sense, right? He is not stalling just to stall. He is literally being like, look, this is the goose that lays the golden eggs. We got to be really careful with it because it's the only one we have.
Exactly.
And you can tell that Blaine is like really at the end of his patience on this thing because of Annalise, and is sort of like, okay, you don't want to go forward with this. Okay, that fine, good.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're just like, uh-oh.
Yeah, no kidding. So that's the scene that we didn't have like on our list. So that scene happens. Then we sort of fast forward to, Wally comes back into the lab to talk to Dr. Mansour, and Blaine is there, and he's like, oh, well, where is Dr. Mansour? And Blaine is like, he's right in front of me. He's dead. Or does he say he's dead? He just says he's right in front of me.
He's dead on the floor next to me or something.
Yeah.
And when he comes in, Blaine is like holding something and like wiping it with a towel.
Mm-hmm.
And we see that it's like a scalpel, and the towel, it's a white towel, and it's got all kinds of red stains on it, right? And
Right.
and so clearly he's like wiping the knife off that he just used to kill Dr. Mansour.
Yes. And it's great because there's this, I mean, it's just such a great line because he says it and then Wally kind of leans around and he sees, oh my God, Dr. Mansour really is on the floor and he says, "You're number 7," which is great.
Yes. He looks over and sees him and like he's lying on the ground. He has like multiple stab wounds in his chest and his shirt and his sweater are all bloody, and dead as a doornail, right? And Wally sees that and he goes, "Oh, I was hoping that was a metaphor."
Yeah, and then there's this really great scene where it just, you take that sort of really scary, threatening atmosphere that Blaine had in that opening scene and just dial it up, like big time.
Oh, yeah.
He is not about to have anybody tell him no right now. And he goes forward, like, into Wally's face, and you can see Wally, like, he backs up a little bit. He's really scared in this moment. And he tells him, you need to, he basically tells him, you have to do this transfusion or else. Like, basically, you're going to die. You're taking over all of the research because Dr. Mansour is no longer with us. So you're in charge and you need to do what I'm telling you, pretty much. And he's like, he says something comes up about being in pain, and Blaine is like, you have no idea about pain. And he's tells this long story about how Annalise, before they started taking the magic juice, I guess she had polio and her like limbs got all withered or whatever. And I made a note in my notes where I said, I know that he tells the story and tells she had polio, but saying you don't know suffering to a guy who has end stage cancer is a little bit rich. So he's literally telling the one person who might understand how painful, like pain and suffering that there was nothing was working for him prior to taking, like the happy juice. Nothing was working for Wally. So I'm sure he was in pain. So I thought it was really funny. He picked like the one person was like, you don't know what suffering is. I'm like, does he though?
Dude,
I don't think he does.
yeah.
I think he does know what suffering is. I think you're wrong, sir. So yeah.
Again, the irony is great, but I think it also, it's just we get another look at Blaine's, character.
Oh God, yeah.
That it's Blaine's world. And everything revolves around, he and his wife. And so if his wife is in pain, no one else could possibly suffer the same pain that she did.
Right. Because
it's her, And it's foolish to even try and compare your piddly little stage 4 cancer pain to my wife's polio pain. I'm sorry. It just doesn't, and it just shows, I think, a lot of the hubris that Blaine has. And this is from a person who has lived as long as he has, in the condition that he has, right? That he is I think it would be inevitable that if you were to actually do that, you would start to think that you're, kind of godlike and immortal. And so, right? Because you never get sick, you never get hurt, you never die. I mean, you never get older. I mean, it's even though rationally you are still a human, you're still mortal, and you can die if you injure yourself or fall or whatever, or get shot or in a car crash or whatever. You know what I mean? You could kill yourself, but I think irrationally or emotionally, after so many decades of not aging a day and being that sort of always young and energetic and fit and healthy, it'd be natural for you to be like, yeah, I'm freaking awesome, So, yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I like that little reveal there, and that's what I took from that was Blaine. Even with Dr. Mansour, the idea of, hey, we need to run some more tests here and make sure this is going to work before we put all our chips in the middle of the table. And for Blaine, it's like, no, I don't care. You're going to do it now because my wife needs it now.
Yeah.
It's so, yeah. So I thought it was a great scene. And you're right. It is very ironic that he's talking to the cancer guy like, you don't know shit about pain,
They're like,
but Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, I totally see that character having that much of an ego where it's like nothing any of you people could ever experience could come even close to what my wife and I experience.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. And then we get the sort of final scene where Sam he gets a little hung up in the back hallway because Toby finds him.
Oh, Toby!
But Renee comes out of nowhere and smashes him in the head with a fire extinguisher, which is fantastic. And they do make it out, but the problem is, in the meantime, that there's the security has put a boot on the van in the front, so that's number one. So they don't have a getaway car, and they're on lockdown because of the whole thing that Sam created, like the little hullabaloo with his karaoke with the Bruce song. They were on lockdown, so the door that they were going to originally go out of is locked and they can't get out, so they end up in the lobby. But there's this really funny scene where Paz is just like trying to get out and Claire is still there. Claire is still trying to get to her dad, and she just doesn't understand what's going on. He's like, oh, we're in lockdown now, I have to get out of here. And I don't know. And there's this great moment where he goes to like break the window and she's like, stop. And he's like, what? And she's like, it's shatterproof glass. And she goes and gets a pair of scissors. She's like, you have to pierce it. You can't just like smash it. But she's got there's this great moment where he's like, he explains what's going on. We're trying to get this guy out of here. And I think my girlfriend is here with some of her friends and they're trying to break this guy out of here. And then we get on the phone and realize that they don't have, when they can't get out of the emergency exit, they say, we've got Sam, and he's like, oh, you've got Sam with you. And she's like, Sam? And she's like, Sam Cooper?
Sam Cooper?
And then makes the connection there finally. And it's like, Sam Cooper? She's like, Sam Cooper's your dad? And they're like, well, I've got some news for you. He's coming. So and meanwhile, they also made a phone call to Art where they're like, okay, sorry, Art, you need to be the getaway driver because they lost the use of their van because they got it booted from someone else in the security department. And so
I love it. They boot another security vehicle.
So they're like, where would that happen? He's like, the Boroughs. That's where it would happen. The Boroughs, yeah. And so Art is like, oh my God, my pickup, it's way back at the cul-de-sac. And he's sort of stuck in like the downtown square area. Like he's near the restaurants and the bars and stuff like that. So he's not near the house. So he really wouldn't be able to get there without someone seeing him. So he has to think on the fly, and he grabs like a laundry delivery van. And
it's great.
It's so fantastic. And, he's there and like beep, beep, and everybody goes to run inside. And there was this great moment where, Sam shows up and he's like, Claire, what are you doing here? And she's like, I'm trying to get you out of here. And she's like, I'm sorry I didn't believe you. And he says, it's okay. I wouldn't have believed me either. Like, he realized how crazy stories were about the monsters and stuff. And there's just this lovely moment. They get inside the van, and Renee is like, okay, next step, we got to go kill a monster. And he's like, no, we need to go save a monster.
Yep.
Boom, chicka boom. And
then, of course, Hugh Hart.
Yes, of course, thump, thump, thump on the heart. And we do get there was the final scene where it looks like Wally is trying to do the same thing. He looks like he's got a wheelchair, and it looks like he's getting ready to spring Mother as well. So he's not with the Scooby Gang right now, but it seems like they might be working at the same purpose. So I'm very curious to see how that evolves in the next episode.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah. We already talked through my honorable mentions, but do you want to talk through yours? More music greatness, for sure.
Yeah, well, again, it's just Barracuda, with that that legendary bass line that starts the song, right? That dun digga dun digga dun digga dun digga dun digga dun digga dun 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 dun. Oh yeah, it's so great.
It's so classic.
Yep, and it fits because it's a very up tempo song, and it's from its era, appropriate for all those people. Paz notwithstanding, although I'm sure because he's in a band, he probably could play it, and has played it before. But yeah, it works on all the levels, and it gets you. I mean, it was definitely a conscious choice of mine to not hit the let's watch the next one, button that pops up right then when the credits start, right? It gives you do you want to go on to the next episode? And it was like I consciously be like, no. Yes. I have to stop because I got to do my notes. I got all that stuff. So yeah, great song. That was my one honorable mention was the Heart song because it just kicks butt, no doubt.
And like you said, it really gets the heart pumping. Like it makes you want to go, ooh, let's go like kick some ass.
Yeah, let's go do it, man. Come on, let's go. Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
I feel like I made it through my list pretty well, and I think you did as well. Anything else that we should chat about before we take our break?
Just one little moment, and I almost put it on as an honorable mention, but I didn't. But what the heck, I'll bring it up, and that is when Toby kind of trapped or surprises Sam in that back corridor. And he's, basically like telling him, we're going to bring in all the kids and let them go at you, and we're not going to sedate you so you'll be awake during it and just like kill you and you'll have to suffer through it. And he's, and he's got the weird eyes at this point and is in full villain mode. And then Renee like just clocks him with like a fire extinguisher. And he, crumples to the ground unconscious. And so they rescue Sam. And so then they're heading out the door. And Renee stops about halfway and turns around and looks back at Toby and goes, well, it's not a stack, but it's a start. And that just goes back to the previous episode where she said, I want to stack some bodies.
I love it.
I thought that.
Yeah, that was a great moment.
That was a lot of fun.
I loved how the eyes, we didn't really talk about that, but the eyes do the same thing that Annalise's does when she got angry with Art before. So it's clearly like a good tell to show that it's yet another person who is on the juice, as it were.
And I believe also when Kaylee was caught in the TV trap at Sam's, and she got all weird and agey, her eyes also looked that way too. So it's a kind of a little reveal that happens when they're exposed to trauma of one type or another. So yeah, but again, a great episode, fast. Oh my God, this episode is so quick. But super enjoyable, that I don't have a problem with it being short as long as it's good, and this, like I said, all 8 of these episodes, there really isn't a bad one. There isn't, it's not like Fear the Walking Dead where you're like, well, like 6 of the 8 episodes were basically crap, but there was that one episode I kind of liked a little bit, It's not like that at all. It's like, they're all good, and it's kind of hard pressed to pick like what's your favorite because they all have little standout moments that you're like, I really like that part. So yeah,
right.
Good stuff.
Oh, fantastic. All right, so we're going to go ahead, folks, and we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to discuss our mounds of feedback that we received and what's coming up next on the podcast.
So everybody, please stick around because Diana and I, we will be right back.
Now there's about 20 of them out there.
What will we do?
Don't worry, we're safe in here. They'll never get in.
Why is it that in every zombie story, people always think that their safe haven is invulnerable?
I know. It's like, hello, the walkers are totally going to get in. You better get ready for it.
No! Diane, get behind me. No, it's not stopping.
Do something, Jack!
And another thing, how come nobody in a zombie story has ever seen a zombie story?
Do you know how much time in human life would be saved if just one person in the group was up on the genre?
What do we do?
Aim for the head.
What?
Aim for the head.
You heard them. Aim for the head.
Quick, Diane, I think we should try and fix the barricades.
I think we should listen to them.
Now, that's the first good idea they've had all episode.
I still don't think they're gonna make it.
Aim for the Head, a horror apocalypse entertainment podcast. Join hosts Diana and Steve as they recap and discuss the best of horror, sci-fi, fantasy, and apocalyptic entertainment. Aim for the Head, available wherever you listen to podcasts. Find us on Instagram and Blue Sky.
Hey everyone, we are back. We're going to jump right into our listener feedback and then discuss a little bit of what's coming up on the podcast, some stuff we've been doing outside of podcasting, etc., etc. So we got a bunch of feedback this week, and some of it is like nice long emails, and it's just really great. So first up, we got another email from our listener, Martha Kara. I hope I'm saying your last name correctly, Martha. So Martha wrote in again via email, like she did last week, and she says, "Dear Diana and Steve, I'm glad you found my email and that email works for you." It does.
It does.
Gina Davis's 2022 memoir, Dying of Politeness, tells more about what her father was able to do physically. Okay, great. I'll have to look that up and see if I can get a copy somewhere. She continues and says, Diana, you made some really good points about what Sam's visions of Lily could be. You will find out soon whether you are right. How about that? I know people hate spoilers, and I have seen the whole series. In addition to Annalise glitching in Blaine's dream in episode 5, remember that Edward also glitched to Grace during their FaceTime in episode 1. I do remember that.
Yes.
I would say the same regarding your good question about whether Wally is still a part of the Scooby Gang. Steve, I'm glad you appreciated my reference to the Long Kiss Goodnight. Look, praise for Steve. It happens occasionally, folks.
It's pretty cool, I gotta admit.
Yeah. They really had to hire a big, tall guy to play Hank to make that abduction scene believable, since Gina is 6 feet tall. That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. Fortunately, Renee wisened up once she got out of the trunk. I would love to see a sequel to The Long Kiss Goodnight with both her and Samuel L. Jackson. If they can make a sequel to Spaceballs, they can make a sequel to that. Good point. Gina is currently filming an action movie called The Kellys, in which she plays Arnold Schwarzenegger's wife. They were cops who used unethical means to meet their goals in their day. Their estranged son, a disgraced cop, has to contact them even though he dreads to ask them for help in saving his wife, who has been kidnapped by terrorists. It is apparently a very fun and funny movie. It will drop on MGM Plus Prime. Are you interested, Steve? What about Diana? I'm all about an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
Oh, yeah. You give me the Schwartz, I will definitely tune in and see. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure if we'd cover it on the podcast. I don't know if it fits the brief, but I would definitely watch it as just a consumer of movies. She goes on and says, I agree that Erica made a good point in questioning why the Shaws didn't take Sam's equipment if they didn't want the Scooby Gang to continue their monster hunting. Jen's time is well spent if spent watching the Boroughs. She's talking about how Jen was like, how dare you get me to watch this show?
Instead of doing my work.
I know. She says, have a good week. Content on the Boroughs on YouTube is really dwindling with time, and you are one of 3 content creator teams still actively getting through each episode. I'm glad you've stuck with this series. Best regards, Martha. And then she followed up with an email like about 10 minutes later and says, hi again. I can't believe I forgot to mention in my previous email that it's an interesting take that Neil, who is Claire's husband, is somehow in cahoots with the Shaws. Sam doesn't like him, and he laughed when Judy asked if he was simple, but Neil did give him that golf cart as a gift. Nice theory, best, Martha. Yeah, we haven't seen him in a little bit, so we'll have to see if he's a part of the bad guys.
That's right. Is he on Team Blaine? We don't know.
I don't know. Thank you so much for your emails, plural, Martha. We hope to hear from you again. We got still one more episode to go, and then after that, we're gonna have some Walking Dead content. So if you're interested in zombies, follow along.
That's right.
Yeah. So thanks again, Martha. It was great to hear from you again. Loved the emails.
Yes, absolutely. That was amazing feedback. Thank you so much for sending it in. We love it. We love it. Yeah. All right. Moving on, our next piece of feedback comes from our P1 listener, the great Erica Price. Hello, Erica.
Hello.
And she sent this in via the Facebook. And again, this is one of those typical Erica Price stream of consciousness emails that we love.
Yes.
And so she starts out by going, so Mother was found as an egg in the desert? How is she given birth to these alien-looking kids, in air quotes, yet she looks mostly, in air quotes, human? Mostly. what or who is impregnating her? That's a good question. Although if she came from an egg, maybe she just lays more eggs, right? We don't really know the whole reproductive cycle of her species yet. Apparently, she didn't used to look human. And then she goes on to say, Paz is such a great ally to our squad. Oof, that real estate lady almost got cooked. Yes, she did. It's a shame Claire unplugged the doohickey too soon.
Is it?
Is it though? Yeah, I don't think there was a. No, I think she did it just right. Then she goes on to say, why can't they drink the kid's blood if it's that regenerative? Good point. It's a very good point, because that was the thing that I dropped onto one of some of Mother's blood, and they show all the cells like instantly regenerating into full health. So yeah, it's an interesting point. Maybe it's toxic to humans or something, and so whereas the Mother's blood is not. I don't know. It's science gobbledygook. Make your own movie, Erica. Look, I don't know. She goes on to say, oh, Sam, hurry up and get out of there. She didn't even light the cigarette. She goes, I guess it's a good thing considering the oxygen. Yeah, you don't want to, like Richard Dreyfuss says in Jaws, you mess around with those tanks and they're going to blow up. It's going to happen. Then she goes, yay, they all made it out. And then she ends up mentioning the little scene with Wally. And when she goes, Wally, what are you up to now?
Yes.
And and that's where it ends. So yeah, amazing feedback. And some interesting points about Mother and how her physiology works. Not sure how much we're gonna get those questions answered. They might go into that a little next week. I can't remember, but still it's certainly something to think about. It's like, wait a minute, why? How could that be? So yeah. So anyway, wonderful feedback, Erica. Thank you so much for sending it in.
Yeah, as usual, love it. So next up, we got some follow-up from Jen, also known as Genocide Doll. Jen wrote in last week and was disappointed that we had made her watch this show. She got involved, and she's mad that but we're sorry not sorry. So she sent a really long follow-up email with all of her thoughts about episode 7. So she writes in via the email and says, am I late? I finished the series that day and it was so good, but I've been challenged. Oh, and yes, you can just call me Jen. So yes, we'll just call you Jen from now on.
Oh my God. Do not encourage her people to challenge you, because she will be sending out these threatening emails to all of you.
I know. It's the worst. And she says, the Boroughs, instead of season 1, she says, only season, episode 7, which I think that's pretty funny. She goes on and says, we have a lovely start to the episode with a cute but evil couple who, in my opinion, have a timeless look, wink, wink. Of course, she says she's fine when she still has a bullet wound in her chest. A doctor would probably say it was all in her head or she needed to lose weight. My question is, did they try to remove the bullet? Was it still in her? Maybe the issue wasn't Mother's blood and the fact that they just seemed to roll in the blood instead of trying some basic first aid and hygiene. I will admit that it is pretty romantic being together for so long and the concept of forever. Just him and her and Mother and the kids and the town with its constant stream of old people and all the other people dependent on the blood. Just the 200 of them forever. Romantic. I sense some sarcasm.
I do too. It's dripping.
Putting Sam in Edward's old room is just a dick move. I know they are an evil cult-like collection of people going against nature, abusing the elderly and non-human life forms for their own selfish ends, but that's just mean. Holy shit. Did he say real cake and punch? Also karaoke? Never mind. Maybe they aren't so bad. When can I move in? Y'all want me to join in the town square? I just poured myself a fresh cup of yarn. Careful, it's very hot. I'm with Wally. And then she says, Wally with a Y? Wally with an I-E? Question mark? So, how do you spell it? I'm going to go with the traditional Y. That's how I did. I don't know if that's right. But that's how it came up that's how it comes up on the closed captioning.
Yeah, so. And on IMDb it is WALLY. So
there you go.
There you go.
Mom needs to change her diet. Maybe start going to the gym. Get swole and be a jacked muscle mommy and they won't have to drain her blood. She can just squeeze them young again. Now imagine Mother as Dolph Lundgren in the Rocky movie with insert inhuman screeching in your head. Translation, if he dies, he dies. That was my best Dolph Lundgren. That was pretty good.
You know what? I thought I was in the room with him.
Yeah. Let me try it again. I will break you. See?
I will break you. Mm-hmm. I like it.
Yeah. Lady in Pink walks into Sam's old house. Why are you still here? Trying to understand science stuff and grieve your father's loss of sanity. I need to sell houses. Why are we surprised at the realtor's true form? Aren't they just like that? She may be a hideous monster who just had her brain melted, but she liked your shoes. New bestie unlocked.
Yeah,
Ooh, cake! LOL. OMFG. I want to be this wheelchair-riding old bitch when I grow up. Ooh, cake! I sense a theme. Gasp. History will say they were roommates. Clearly she's Gigi and the Duchess with a little, kiss action happening there.
What?
History will say they were roommates.
No, they were. They were just platonic, right?
Yeah, you could tell by the twin beds.
I mean, that's just the way when two girls live together like that. That's what it means, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Yes, Sam, please repeat everything the sassy old lady says. Ooh, cake! Wally is smart AF, but as usual, no one wants to listen to their doctors when it comes to caring for their old lady, James Woods monster. Thank you.
Hey.
It's so irresponsible of them not to do the testing, but like so many owners of aging, unearthly monsters, they go with what is quick and convenient. Karaoke. Steve is Ben when he grows up? I don't know what that means. Steve is Ben when he grows up.
Ben.
And she means Steve, you probably.
I would imagine, yeah.
But you're the only Steve I know.
who's Ben?
I don't know. Maybe she meant Bruce. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, okay, seriously, this was such a beautiful scene in addition to being funny. When he first started to sing, you could see the emotions the song held, and you could almost feel his pain. I loved the strain in his voice and the false starts, trying to fight back tears, but the determination to push through and getting Ben, the one-man cheer squad, to basically start a geriatric marsh pit.
Yeah, Ben was the guy who jumped up on stage with them.
Yeah.
So that's what she thinks, that's where I'm going to end up, so...
Yeah, and what's this grows up thing?
And hey, you know what? The joke's on her because I'm already there.
Yeah. And then he basically starts a geriatric mosh pit, which was absolutely gold. I agree. This is a great line. She says, "Elder Avengers assemble." I love it. I love the detail of the security guard being yelled at for always being on his phone while still on the phone and continuing to be on his phone.
Mm-hmm.
Her mind reset and she forgot. Maybe I am this old lady? Ooh, cigarette. History will say they were roommates. Sam, just accept that everyone knows you. Sam, buddy, old lady James Woods didn't kill your best friend of 2 days. Technically, her kid did. But it falls more on the people who put him in the rotation knowing he needs the machine to live. Wise old Oracle is wise. Even the damn birds can hear her. Is that why they all died? Did they all get brain scrambled when Mother was screaming out for help? I was curious about that. This is a good point. Did she purposely kill them to lead someone to the magic peach so they could get super strength to bust her out? I mean, it kind of works. Eventually, task failed successfully. Did you know it's called a bus cart? Which is true. That kind of cart is for like bussing tables. Someone likes puns and wordplay. Now we play the world's slowest version of the door gag and trying to rescue the same person. The fake food is adorable. I collect it now and would likely hoard the fake food in my room like some kind of fake food dragon. Poor Dr. Mansour. I guess a pink slip was just too much of a hassle. If you're not willing to murder a man, threaten your staff, and sacrifice a community, do you even love your girl? Do better, men. Do better. Ouch, my brain. He was a creepy little shit that deserved to be beaten with a fire extinguisher, but lift with your legs, my dude. And now, back to Art doing his best impression of a greased-up deaf guy from Family Guy, or if you're a person of culture, insert Benny Hill music. Communication is key. Also, being able to identify shatterproof glass is very important. Gina Davis drops a badass line only to get the moment stolen and upstaged with an even more badass line with epic music. Sorry, Gina. Never mind. Wally snatched that ending. That sassy bitch. I love him. And then she left us some more thoughts. Kind of similar to what she had already said when I posted looking for feedback. I sent out pictures from the karaoke, like the Bruce sing-along moment. And Jen responded there on Facebook and said, "This was a beautiful scene. In addition to being funny, when he first started to sing, you could see the emotions the song held, and you could almost feel his pain. I loved the strain in his voice and the false starts trying to fight back tears, but the determination to push through and getting his one-man cheer squad to basically start a geriatric mosh pit was absolutely gold," which is true. I love it. And actually, his whole thing gets the place shut down. They're all in lockdown because of his damn song.
That's right. It's the boss, man. I'm telling you.
I know. It's crazy. Jen, kudos to you for probably the longest email feedback we've had since the Tim Griffin days, I'm going to say. Or
maybe
Lisa,
your friend.
Lisa about the
Kingdom.
ceremonial hats from
Yes.
Kingdom, which
Yes.
was amazing because she did all of that research so that we didn't have to.
I know.
Anyway, thanks again for all of your feedback. She actually already pre-sent in an email with information about the finale episode. So she already pre-sent in her feedback, which you guys can do at any time. We'll be looking for feedback for the finale episode anytime this week. So feel free to send an email, shoot us a message on Facebook, whatever. Because next week, I can't believe we're here, but we're at the series finale of the Boroughs. Episode 8, title of the episode is Triple Audible. And the description that we have is, with Blaine and Annalise desperate to capture Mother, Sam and his friends put it all on the line to save their neighbors and set things right.
Interesting.
Sam and his friends. Is Wally one of the friends? I don't know.
Wally!
But Wally does have Mother, so clearly he's going to figure into the finale for sure.
That's right.
So we're pretty excited. We're going to wrap that all up next week. It's pretty great. Also, next week is the premiere of, are we on season 3 already of Dead City?
We are.
Season 3. Dead City premieres next week. We're going to be podcasting a week behind, so you're going to have plenty of time to send in your feedback because we're still covering the Boroughs next week, but we're going to jump right into Dead City once we are finished with that, and we'll have posts out there looking for feedback as well. So, folks, if you are interested in letting us know how you feel about Dead City, let us know. Email, send us a message on Facebook, respond to the posts that we put out there looking for feedback, and we'd love to share it when we start recording on Dead City, which will be in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. And I would point out that both AMC and The Walking Dead have started to amp up their social media posts about it. So it is...
beware.
Yeah. There's lots of interviews with people, lots of things you do not want to watch now.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure they reveal, unintentionally, but they reveal clues and indicators of where the show might be going. And if you don't want it ruined, just be careful what you click on.
Absolutely. And get ready for... a lot of Walking Dead content because we're getting up to San Diego Comic-Con, I think, is coming up in like a week or so as well.
I believe it's next weekend.
Yeah, so that's when they usually throw out like really big, clips packages. I wonder if we'll find out when Daryl Dixon premieres. They'll have, because the AMC and Walking Dead has some kind of presence at pretty much every San Diego Comic-Con. So hopefully we'll get maybe a little more idea of when we'll see Daryl Dixon this fall, which would be great. Great.
Yep.
And speaking of conventions, we've got less than 2 weeks to go before Flashback Weekend. We're super excited about that. A really, really good lineup. Lots of people from the new Scream movies are going to be there. There's a really good list of people, so just check it out. They got a bunch of great activities that they do. There's a great costume contest that usually happens on Saturday. They're still working out some of the scheduling. Friday night, though, is going to be this really great sort of event, as it were, and it's going to be with Sven Gulli, and that's Friday night. It's a special ticketed event. You have to get extra tickets to go to that, and we have tickets, so we'll be there, folks.
Yeah,
so we'll be there.
It's like a kind of like a talk show.
Yeah.
Sven Gulli plays the Johnny Carson, the David Letterman, whatever you want to, insert your host here, Jimmy Kimmel, right? Nick DiGilio, who is a film critic here in Chicago, and a moderator of some of the panels at Flashback. He will be the sidekick to Sven Gulli, and then there will be multiple celebrity guests that are appearing at the show. They will come on stage in the interview format, and all of that hasn't really been officially announced. We don't know who's going to be there. Usually it's some of the bigger names. The last time they did it, which I think was last year, Robert Englund, Freddy Krueger himself, was making an appearance, so he came out on stage. And then I think they also had Barbara Crampton and I think Bruce Abbott from Reanimator. They came out after Robert Englund. So it just depends. Yeah. So and last year was a lot of fun. Sven Gulli's great, and usually the guests are very, like if I remember right, Robert Englund came out with a big glass of wine.
He did when he did his he did an event where Nick interviewed him like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh my God. He came out with he's got like his little satchel, his little man bag, and a glass of wine. And told the best stories.
Oh yeah, great. but it was a big glass of wine. I mean, it was like half the bottle. So I'm just saying that they come out. This is after the show is closed. It's like at 8:00 at night. So it's the show's over. So they kind of the celebrities have kind of relaxed and kind of, decompressed. So they're not performing necessarily as much. They're just kind of out there. And it was a lot of fun last year. And then the other thing they're doing on Saturday night is Alan Howarth is one of the guests, and he composed a lot of the soundtrack music for John Carpenter's movies in the 1980s. He did the Halloween 2 soundtrack, where he reworked the Halloween themes that Carpenter had done for the original, updated them and changed them around. And he then did, music for Halloween 3, and he did The Thing. He did Escape from New York. Almost all of John Carpenter's movies there, he was involved. And so he will be performing a live score to Halloween 2. They're going to show Halloween 2, and he will be up on stage with his guitars and synthesizers, and he will be performing the music of Halloween 2 live while we're watching the film. So that's I've gone to other artists that have done that before, and it's usually pretty mind-blowing to see it and hear it live. So those are the two special events. But yeah, Flashback's going to be great. And then, like you said, 2 weeks after that is Fan Expo. And I mean, that just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger with the people that they're announcing that are going to be there. So many great celebrities. It's going to be amazing. This is like the big convention push for us for the year. So
yeah, it's going to be a lot in those in the next 4 weeks, because Flashback is in like less than 2, and then at Fan Expo is 2 weeks after Flashback.
Yes.
So busy.
Oh my God. Organs to sell.
Super busy. And then just a couple of movie recommendations, or just some movie feedback. I ventured to the IMAX theater yesterday early in the morning for an 11 a.m. show that was, oh my God, was it packed. And I saw Sarah and I went to see The Odyssey yesterday.
And I'm guessing you just got home about 10 minutes ago, right?
I did. There's a couple of things that I want to say, and I don't want to give any spoilers away. Although there could have been, because I'm sure read The Odyssey in high school when we were assigned the Iliad and all of the other Homer things. And I remembered a bunch of things, but I honestly didn't remember how things sort of resolve at the end, what the ending was.
Sure.
It was kind of surprising for me, which was great. So I don't want to say anything. Here are the things that I will say. First of all, it is so epically filmed. Please try and see it on the biggest screen you can. The ultimate recommendation is if you can see it on the IMAX 70mm. There are not a lot of those across the country. Your options there are limited. You may have to drive pretty far. In the very least, you should see it in a regular IMAX theater, which is where we went on Sunday. And it was astounding. It's just so visually amazing. It's meant to be on a really large screen like this. The sound, everything was just so amazing. A couple of performances, I highly recommend it. I thought it was probably one of the best movies, like new movies, that I've seen at the theater in quite some time. And it's gonna run away with all the awards for sure. At least technically, without question, he'll win Best Director. It's so unbelievably done. A lot of the actors are amazing. There's a few that I felt stood out. I usually can I can give or take her. Anne Hathaway is fantastic. Tom Holland is fantastic. And John Leguizamo. Those are my three.
Okay.
That I'm going to say. Anne Hathaway, fantastic. Tom Holland, who I was very surprised, fantastic. And John Leguizamo. Everybody else is fantastic as well, but you expect great things from Matt Damon, from, some of the bigger actors. But
Charlize Theron.
Yeah, oh god, amazing. It's
Zendaya.
Zendaya did really great. I really, any of the named people in this movie did fantastic. And it was the style and how the story was told was so engaging. And honestly, it's the movie is 8 minutes short of the 3 hours long, and I did not feel that 3 hours without question. We got into the theater at 10:45 to make sure we got all of the previews. We didn't leave the theater until after 2:30, and it just didn't feel like. It just felt like a standard movie, like we'd seen a 90-minute, 2-hour movie. That's it. And I can't recommend it enough. It was really great. I am actually really tempted to go and see it a second time to see if I can catch anything that I missed the first time around.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really, really that good. So I don't think you're going to have a problem seeing it in the theaters. It's so sold out all over the place. It's going to be in the theaters for quite a few weeks. So, start looking in the next 2 to 3 weeks to see if there's openings here and there. Those 70mm theaters, there's only 25 of them in the US. Those are sold out for the next month. There's nothing available. It's funny because when I got our tickets for the IMAX showing, there were, I would say maybe 20 tickets that were already sold. And then I did something we usually do too when we go to the theater. I just looked really quick on Fandango to see, is this, you want to know, is someone sitting in the chair next to me? Mm-hmm. Yeah, someone was sitting in the chair next to everyone because the theater was packed. And the other good thing that I saw someone say this online and I absolutely agree. Not a phone went off, not a sound, no rustling in their seat. Everybody was locked in for that 3 hours, and it seemed like really, really was drawn in for the whole thing. It just was really, really incredible. When are you planning on going to see it?
I don't know. I've got stuff going on here right now on my radar. I want to see Evil Dead Burn before it goes away. So that's kind of my thing. Well, we'll see.
You've got time, and it's not like you don't know how the story is, but it's. If you can make your way out, there's an IMAX in the city, right? You can go to.
Well, there's a fake IMAX at the Regal North where it's not true IMAX, but they call it IMAX. And then I know that Music Box is showing it in 70.
Yeah.
So there are multiple venues out there that I could go see it to. But like you said, I mean, they started selling tickets for this like last year.
Yeah,
and
on some of the
and a lot of the screening, like you said, for the bigger screens are already sold out for several weeks. So it's it's got, but like you said, it's going to be around forever. So I'll get a chance to see it. I just
you get time to see that before Evil Dead Burn will probably leave. You know what I mean? If that's your priority, I would definitely go see that then for sure.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So
right.
so yeah.
But anyway, highly recommend. Hope everybody else gets a chance to see it in the theater because this is one of those ones where it's going to translate better on a big screen than it does inside your house. So there.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. So you said you had a couple of
I did, yeah. Basically, in the amount of time it took you to watch The Odyssey, I watched 3 movies. so take that. I talked about 2 of them on our last episode, and I was not very good at describing them or getting the titles right, and I apologize. But the first one was, all of these movies are on Shudder. So that would be AMC Plus, or if you have a subscription to Shudder directly. They're all, I want to say all 3 of them are Canadian. At least 2 of them are for sure. And the third one I'm not 100%. And they're all very, very quick. They're all about 100 minutes long. They're an hour 40. So yeah, like 104 minutes. So not a big investments in time. The first one is a movie called Whistle. And I mentioned it last week, and I thought it was kind of like a monkey's paw kind of a story, and that is not correct. It is more of it's sort of a knockoff of the Final Destination films, in that Daphne Keane plays this high school kid who is kind of the stereotypical in all these movies, the new kid in school who has a troubled past, who is staying with like her cousin, and she goes to school, and the very first day she gets the locker of the kid that we see the Whistle kill in the opening scene. And don't you just hate it when you get the dead kid's locker at school and there's like the cursed artifact in there? Oh my god, know. And in the locker is this, like, I don't know, it's like Aztec or Mayan or Toltec, some ancient Central or South American civilization that got destroyed by the Europeans artifact. And it's this carved stone, and it looks kind of like a skull, and it's got all these markings on it and stuff. And they eventually Nancy drew it and figure out that it is literally it is a death whistle. And what they read about it online is that if you blow into this whistle, death will come and kill you. And I mean, first of all, why would anyone make something like this? What's the appeal, And I think the movie lacks because none of these kids bother to ask that question. They're just like, oh, okay. But it also has the caveat of it's not just the person who blows in the whistle. It's like anyone that hears the whistle's sound. So in the movie, one of the kids blows it in the room where all of them are in the room at the same time. So now death is coming for all of them, right? And so as the numbers dwindle, much like in the Final Destination movies, the survivors have to figure out, is there like a loophole or some way that they can, cancel the death part of it. And I'm giving it a recommendation. It's not great. It certainly is just following the Final Destination template. So if you've seen a Final Destination movie, you've seen this. They do put a little spin on how it all works. That is kind of interesting. And the other thing that's great about it is that I think they must have spent about half their budget to get Nick Frost to show up as one of their teachers. And I mean, he must have been on set for like 3 days because he's in like 2 scenes, but he's always good. So it's neat to see him. But the reason why, if you're going to see this movie, if you sit down and invest the time, watch the credits, because about 30 or 45 seconds into the credits, there is a cutscene that is my favorite part of the whole movie. And literally, if like the rest of the movie had as much balls as the cutscene has, it would be a way better film. So that's Whistle. And again, I'm kind of like recommending it. It's not great, but it's pretty well made. And like I said, that cutscene is freaking phenomenal. So that's one. Then the second one that I talked about last week that I thought was called The Apple is actually called Forbidden Fruits.
Okay.
And this is a movie that it stars Lily Reinhart, which she played Betty on the CW series Riverdale, and it also stars this girl named Lola Tung, and she was in this show, and I think it was a Netflix series last year, or maybe the year before, and it was called the Summer That I Turned Pretty.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was kind of her big thing. Well, they're both in this, and this the best way to describe this movie is it's Mean Girls meets The Craft.
Oh, okay.
And so Lily Reinhart plays this character named Apple, and she and her two cohorts, who are named Cherry and Fig, get it? They're all fruit names. They work in this like upscale clothing store in this like mall, and they don't say where, but like Beverly Hills, some like upscale shopping center. And they literally are the mean girls. They walk around the mall, and you literally hear people watching them going, oh my God, they're so beautiful. They're so great. You know, like everybody wants to be them. And then entering into this group is Lola Tung, her character is Pumpkin. Aww. And she is brought into the group, and she gets a job at the store. And once she's kind of in the inner circle, we find out that not only are they mean girls, but they're also witches. And they are doing coven witching stuff. And then the rest of the story is just sort of, you know, what happens as she kind of finds out what's going on. And, of course, all of these girls have secrets, that things they're trying to do, things they're trying to keep hidden from the other girls. And it's – I'm going to admit, I'm not going to recommend it. It's certainly not aimed for me. I'm not the target audience, so I think there are people out there that would probably enjoy it. For me, there's one scene in this movie that involves an escalator that I really, really liked. Even though there is a lot of finger trauma in it, which was very hard for me to get over. I want you to know that. But it has like a weird celebrity cameo at the end that makes, I guess they're trying to set up a sequel maybe, but it really didn't work for me all that much. And again, I think it's part of it is I'm just really not the demo they had in mind when they made the movie. But that's the second one. And then the third one is a movie from last year that's called This Is Not a Test. And this is a zombie apocalypse movie.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, it's not a good zombie apocalypse movie. Again, it's a little Canadian movie, and it also revolves around high school kids, and the lead is this girl named Olivia Holt, who plays this girl named Sloane, who she and her friends survive the outbreak by going to their high school and barricading themselves in. So part of the story is them getting there, and then once they're there, it's kind of the standard, do we stay here where it's relatively safe? And this is like a Fear the Walking Dead kind of zombie apocalypse, because the power is still on. The cafeteria in this place is fully stocked with food, and the doors are very secure because, you know, it's a school, you know. And so they have to wrestle with do we stay here where it's relatively safe, or do we try and leave, because on the radio they hear about a nearby town that has been set up as like a safe area where there are army troops and doctors and, you know, places like and the government is like recommending if you can get there, you should try and get there. And so it is not it doesn't do anything new, basically, is the way to say it. It follows the sort of zombie apocalypse movie playbook page by page, and everything that you would expect to be in a zombie movie it does, and it doesn't do anything new with it. It just kind of does the same old stuff. So I'm not a big fan of it. They're fast zombies also, which I'm not a big fan of either. And it really looks to me like if like you all ever wondered what was happening in Canada in Zack Snyder's awful remake of Dawn of the Dead, this is the movie for you, because it certainly seems like that movie inspired them, and I hate that movie. So I would not recommend that one either. But they're all available on Shudder. They're all on AMC Plus, or if you have a Shudder subscription through Amazon or something else, you can watch them there. And the good news is they're all like right around 105 minutes long, so not super expensive in terms of time. So
yeah.
So there you go.
There you go. some recommendations and some maybe not recommendations.
Some kind of not a big fan of, yeah.
Yeah,
but,
we'll
but there
see.
you go. But I was
Right.
I was just impressed because they were all 3 horror movies, so I'm contributing to the tribe. So there you go.
There you go. All right. Anything else we need to discuss before we wrap it up?
No, that's I've been talking enough.
Okay, me too. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us this week. We look forward to chatting with you again next week when we discuss the series finale of The Boroughs. But until then, as always, I'm Diana.
And I'm Steve.
And don't forget to always aim for the head.
Because the body shots, no, they don't work.
To send us an email, write us at aimfortheheadpodcast@gmail.com. And our Twitter handle is @AFTH Podcast. Pictures and video are always welcome at our Instagram account, Aim for the Head Podcast, all one word. But the best way to keep in touch with us is to just like our Facebook page to get all of our updates in your feed.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
I knew you were, because I know you love to hear your own voice. So
It's why I started a podcast. Why would you?
exactly. Hello. I mean,
Do you know me or do you know me?
Well, I know you. Okay.